Mario Kart World should have been unstoppable. Nintendo launched it with the Switch 2, betting on it as the ultimate system seller. But just weeks after launch, something unthinkable started happening. Players booted up their Switch 2, queued for an online race, and got error messages, not because of lag or disconnections. The game literally could not find enough players to start a match, and when lobbies did load, they were half empty. Imagine that, the sequel to a game that sold over 75 million copies, suddenly struggling to fill races. This wasn't just a hiccup, it was the first crack in a 30-year empire. And out of that crack, an old rival appeared, faster, hungrier, and suddenly ready to take the crown. For 30 years, Sonic's racing games had lived in Mario's shadow, but now, with Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, fans are saying something no one expected to hear. This is actually more fun than Mario Kart. The game is blowing up on Steam charts. It's going viral on social media, with funny moments and crazy crossover characters like Hatsune Miku. Live streams are getting thousands of viewers, and most important of all, unlike with Mario, players are just having a ton of fun. So how did the unshakable Mario Kart lose its grip? And why are people quitting for Sonic of all things? I'm Mr. Fascinating, and that's what we'll try to understand today. Mario Kart World's downfall didn't happen because people suddenly stopped loving Mario Kart. It happened because Nintendo changed the rules of the game. For years, Mario Kart thrived on a simple formula: pick up and play chaos, quick races that explode into rivalries, and a perfect balance of fun for casuals and competition for hardcore fans. But in World, Nintendo tried to expand the formula. Instead of simply classic 3-lap sprints, the game pushed players into intermission tracks. They are transition tracks where you drive between courses in long paths. It's a cool novelty, but after some matches, players just get bored. But it gets worse. At launch, it was possible to simply play 3-lap races online. But Nintendo removed that option. It wasn't an accident. They patched it out, removing player choice and forcing everyone into their new vision. Imagine buying a brand new console with a premium Mario Kart game, only to find the one thing you loved most about it is gone. That's not just a design flaw. It feels like a betrayal. And it didn't stop there. The game launched at an $80 price tag, right alongside a $500 Switch 2 that already raised controversy. Nintendo framed Mario Kart World as the must-have launch title. But when players rushed in, what they found was a polished shell with little to do. Even in single-player mode, the open world lacks any kind of substantial progression system to motivate you to explore. The critics were kind, calling it an 86 on Metacritic, but fans were harsher, dragging it down to a 7.0 user score. When Mario Kart World launched, it was the only big game on the Switch 2. People bought it out of necessity, even if they weren't thrilled. Nintendo made one cold calculation. Mario Kart World didn't have to honor the legacy of Mario Kart 8. It just had to sell consoles. And in that sense, it succeeded. The Switch 2 broke sales records. But once people had their shiny new console, they didn't feel any loyalty to the game itself. The job was done, and Nintendo cashed out. This entire ordeal left kart racing fans feeling a huge void. It had been over 10 years since the release of Mario Kart 8, and everyone was hungry for a great kart experience. When World disappointed, the fans became even hungrier, and Nintendo could never predict that. In that moment, a blue rival from a war fought long past would reappear, and suddenly compete at the same level again. Sonic Racing CrossWorlds was never supposed to be a real contender. Sonic racing games had always been the side project, the fun little distraction that reminded people Sonic existed outside of platformers. Time and time again, even when Sonic's games were great, like Transformed, he was still massively overshadowed. But this time, the timing was perfect. Sega's open beta for CrossWorlds launched just as Mario Kart players were growing restless and quitting the game. If players were disappointed, it would tank the game's sales. But what players found was shocking. Instead of long, bloated open-world routes, CrossWorlds doubled down on pure arcade chaos. Tight tracks, wild speed, deep customization that lets you express skill and creativity in ways Mario Kart World never allowed. It was everything Nintendo had abandoned, wrapped in a package that felt new without losing the heart of what made kart racing addictive in the first place. CrossWorlds didn't try to be bigger than Mario Kart World. It went the opposite direction, creating a condensed, high-energy addictive spectacle, and the fans noticed. Streams of the beta pulled massive numbers on Twitch. Influencers began saying it outright. They were having more fun with Sonic Racing CrossWorlds than Mario Kart World. That's not just surprising, it's justified. Because this time around, Sonic really is more fun than Mario. Alright, so let me explain why CrossWorlds is so fun to play. CrossWorlds feels electric because every lap is a choice, not a loop. The moment the leader punches through a portal and picks the second lap route, the race stops being predictable and turns into controlled chaos. You are not just circling a track. You are steering the entire lobby into a different world and a different physics mood. It sounds like a gimmick from afar, but in motion it clicks, and it clicks hard. This dynamic rhythm would be even more powerful with systems that create story beats during the lap, and a well-balanced, deep customization system. CrossWorlds gives you both. First, the rival system. The game tells you exactly who your personal rival is, and it will not shut up about it. You trade places, they bark, and suddenly the race has personal stakes. Even in CPU races, that named pressure keeps the heat on all Grand Prix long. It is small, but it changes how your brain ranks every overtake. Second, the gadget panel. Before every race, you assemble a loadout that actually matters. Do you chase pure speed or tilt into acceleration and trick boost economy, or get greedy with ring gain and turn every drift into fuel? The trade-offs force the player to express his identity. Players are already theory crafting track-specific builds, and that is the kind of depth that keeps people online. Here is the clever balance. CrossWorlds is loud and brash, and sometimes it rides the edge of sensory overload. But it pairs that swagger with guardrails that respect new players. Indicators help you nail drift timing and perfect your start. Alerts tell you when to pop a defensive item, and rings rain down often enough that a single hit slows you without ending your race. Then, just when you relax, the game takes rings away for scraping a barrier or trading paint, reminding you that speed has a price. It is generous, then it is mean, and that push-pull keeps you awake. That is the magic Mario Kart World could not bottle this year. CrossWorlds does not try to be a platformer between races. It stays a racer, then lets community chaos do the rest. Lifelong Mario Kart players had a taste of the beta and walked away shocked that a Sonic game of all things hit the kart racing nerve they were missing. Stack crossplay on top of that, and the game goes instantly viral. If there's one thing Nintendo has never understood, it's the modern online player. For years, Mario Kart Online was always tied to Nintendo's closed ecosystem. You had to play on their servers, on their terms, with no real way to connect outside their walled garden. Sonic Racing CrossWorlds shattered that wall. Right from the beta, Sega opened the floodgates with full crossplay. Remember how confident series producer Takashi Iizuka was when he announced crossplay?
Also, unlike another kart racing game, this game will have online cross-platform matchmaking.
That was back when everyone was still clowning on CrossWorlds, when only me and like 2 other people were defending the game. But he already knew he was cooking. With crossplay, it doesn't matter if you are on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or even the Switch itself. You can queue with anyone. And suddenly, lobbies aren't empty. They are bursting with people. Every match feels alive, unpredictable, and full of personalities. That alone gave Sonic a massive edge. This made fans who dropped Mario Kart World invite their entire friend groups to spend hours grinding CrossWorlds. The energy was contagious. Sonic has always been the underdog. The console wars were decades ago, but even in the present day, Sega keeps saying they want Sonic to catch up with Mario. And for fans, that dynamic became part of the identity. Rooting for Sonic means rooting for rebellion, for a character who isn't supposed to win, but fights anyway. So when CrossWorlds pulls ahead in internet fandom and acclaim, it feels almost like a bug in the Matrix. But it also felt inevitable. Think about it. Nintendo gave people an $80 disappointment. Sega gave people a free beta that was actually fun. One company felt arrogant, the other felt hungry. One treated players like wallets, the other like fans. Which one would you choose? Every fan noticed Nintendo cared more about selling the Switch 2 than keeping the Mario Kart legacy alive. Sega didn't have to dethrone Mario Kart with a perfect game. They just had to show up with something that respected the player's time. Maybe Mario Kart World will recover with updates. Maybe Nintendo will patch back the option to not play intermissions, add new tracks, and rebuild trust. They have the resources, they have the power, but even if they fix the game tomorrow, one truth can't be erased. For the first time in 30 years, even if only for a fleeting moment, Sonic Racing isn't just alive, it's winning. Click the video appearing on screen right now before it disappears to understand the deep overarching business lesson behind how Mario Kart World's flaws allowed Sonic to succeed.